From the very beginning, women played an important role in alpine ski racing. In a time of male-dominated competition, alpine skiing opened its gates to women early on. Starting with the first World Championships in 1931, female athletes competed alongside men. And it was a woman who became the sport's first true superstar, Christl Cranz. The Belgian-born German truly dominated the international competition. Back then, World Championships were the sport's biggest event, and they happened annually. Cranz won nearly every global competition between 1934 and 1939, earning a whopping 12 titles as world champion and the first Olympic gold medal in alpine ski racing. She was the best downhill and slalom racer of her time and regarded as the best overall skier for decades. Like many athletes in Nazi Germany, Cranz was also sadly used as a propaganda figure. The regime portrayed her as the ideal German woman and her victories as proof of national superiority. After World War II, Cranz became a ski instructor, coach, judge, author, and federation official, but never publicly addressed her Nazi-era past. Her record, though, still stands. No skier has ever won more World Championship titles, but one racer eventually came close. Once the war was over, the Austrian Ski Federation became the undisputed ruler of alpine skiing. Their men dominated the podiums, so did their women. But still no one could match Christl Cranz's pre-war dominance. In the 1950s, Trude Beiser and Dagmar Rom emerged as Austria's most successful female racers. But international competition was catching up fast, especially from across the Atlantic. Alongside the ever-strong Swiss skiers, the US-Americans Gretchen Fraser and Andrea Mead-Lawrence, as well as Lucille Wheeler and Anne Hetrate from Canada, became pioneers for ski racing in their respective countries. They paved the way for a new generation of international superstars. Yet the first true national ski racing super team didn't come from North America, but from France. During the 1960s, fueled by a wave of technological progress and a booming economy, the French Ski Federation climbed to the top of the alpine skiing world, both figuratively and literally. And before there was Jean-Claude Killy, another French ski racer dominated the sport. Her name was Marielle Goitschel. Born into a skiing family, as are many ski racers, Marielle rose alongside her sister Christine to become part of France's golden ski generation. Between 1962 and 1968, Marielle Goitschel won 2 Olympic golds and 7 World Championship titles, making her the most successful female ski racer of the 60s. At the 1964 Olympic Games in Innsbruck, the Goitschel sisters achieved a feat that remains unmatched. Marielle won the giant slalom with Christine in second, and 6 days later, Christine won the slalom while Marielle took silver. No siblings have ever been more successful at a single Winter Olympics. 4 years later in Grenoble, with France hosting the Games, Marielle Goitschel ends her career on a high. She wins Olympic gold in the slalom and takes silver in the combined World Championship ranking. "I wanted to leave at the top," she said. After retiring, she became a regional official, public advocate, and occasional ski commentator. But despite all her success, one major trophy escaped her. Right after Olympic gold, the next biggest title a ski racer can win is the World Cup, a season-long competition that premiered in 1967. In that inaugural season, Marielle Goitschel claimed both the downhill and the slalom discipline titles. But she still missed out on the overall crown, which went to Nancy Greene. The Canadian giant slalom specialist won 7 races that season. But heading into the final event, the slalom in Jackson Hole, Goitschel still led the standings. But then came the upset. Greene, not favored in the slalom, took the crucial win she needed, and with that overtook Goitschel by just 4 points to become the first female overall World Cup champion. The following season, Greene defended both her overall and the giant slalom title, while Goitschel retained her slalom title before retiring. They were the first great rivalry of the newly founded FIS Alpine Ski World Cup. But the sport's first true female global superstar was still to come. During this age of ski racing, athletes were denied professionalism. This so-called amateur rule prevented them from receiving personal sponsorships or any other form of monetary compensation. One side effect was that many athletes had a relatively short-lived career compared to today's standards, and they were also retiring quite young to be able to make money to support their family. Marielle Goitschel, for example, is 2 years younger than Nancy Greene, who retired before her 25th birthday, while already being the oldest in the World Cup top 15. The relatively long career of the Canadian woman was only possible because she got functional support from her National Ski Association, but also from community fundraisers in her hometown that helped to kickstart her career. After retiring, Greene arguably became an even bigger figure in Canada as a politician and member of the Senate. She even became the most important woman in Canadian sports in general, and was later voted Canada's Athlete of the Century. In France, it was also a skier who was voted Athlete of the Century with Jean-Claude Killy. And although he was the face of an excellent French national team, there were many stars beside him. In the inaugural World Cup season, France managed to place 4 racers in the top 5, in both the men's and the women's categories. But while the men's team had tight battles with the Austrians every year, the French women remained the top national team for 6 years straight. Every season, France turned out one ski prodigy after the next. Their teenage women dominated some competitions for years. Annemarie Moser, for example, won the first slalom World Cup title alongside Marielle Goitschel and earned 6 World Championship or Olympic medals in total, including slalom gold in 1966. Or Isabelle Mir, who won 2 downhill titles during her career. And Michèle Jacot, who became the first French overall World Cup champion in 1970, while all other female titles that season also went to France. Meanwhile, in Austria, the ski racing women had some catching up to do. Standing in the shadow of their male counterparts, they still managed to hold their own. Especially with Trude Gabel, who became overall champion in 1969. But as a team, they had no chance against the French women. That was until the biggest prodigy in ski racing history emerged from the slopes of the Austrian Alps. At only 14 years old, she burst onto the big stage of alpine skiing and sent shockwaves through the competition. In France, with deep respect, they called her La Proell. The teenager Annemarie Proell was a true phenomenon on skis. Growing up on a mountain farm as one of 8 children, she was introduced to the sport early on and quickly outgrew local racers. And even though female athletes were much more accepted in alpine skiing than in other sports, the truth is, they were still treated with less respect and less support than men. Even as a promising prodigy, Annemarie Proell had to fight for proper equipment, even within her own ski federation. But that didn't stop her from reaching her first World Cup podium at just 16 years of age. She ended her debut season ranked top 20 overall. A year later, she claimed her first victory. It was a giant slalom in the Slovenian Maribor, and from there she showed the world what it meant to truly dominate a sport and became the alpine skiing superstar of the 70s. In 1971, still as a tender teenager, Proell claimed 7 wins, winning in every discipline and earning herself the first downhill, giant slalom and overall World Cup title. She raised the bar by setting new standards and records. The following season, for example, she went unbeaten in downhill, winning all of the 8 races and an additional 3 in the next season, setting a record that still stands to this day. But it didn't end there. She proceeded to win 5 consecutive overall titles, cementing herself as the greatest downhill racer in history. But compared to her World Cup dominance, her Olympic and World Championship results looked almost modest, but only because of the limited opportunities. Unlike Christl Cranz, who raced World Championships annually, Proell had to wait 4 years between chances. That's also why the Olympics, that happened in between, counted as official World Championship competitions. In 1972, at the Winter Olympics in the Japanese Sapporo, the Austrian team was thrown into turmoil over Karl Schanz's suspension. A lot of the racers didn't get proper training for the events, but Pröll still managed to get silver in giant slalom and downhill, and earning herself a gold medal as the world champion in combined. 2 years later, she crowned herself as world champion in downhill. And in 1976, after marrying and going by the name Annemarie Moser-Pröll now, she was expected to win Olympic gold at home in Innsbruck. But she shocked the public by stepping away from the sport at her peak to care for her father who battled with cancer. Her decision to prioritize family over fame led to her missing an entire season that could have been the highlight of her career. Many people in Austria didn't take that well, sending her death threats and pushing her to come back. After her father passed, Annemarie Moser-Pröll returned the following season. And even though she wasn't as successful as before her step back, her achievements remained impressive. She immediately became a top 15 racer in every discipline again, and only lost out on the next overall title because of the counting system at that time, where not all results counted towards the final ranking. But it didn't take her long to get back to the top. In 1978, she once again became downhill world champion and World Cup winner, and also took the combined world title while finishing third in giant slalom. In the following season, she defended her downhill crown and won her 6th overall World Cup. And then, in 1980, came the crowning moment of her career. At the Lake Placid Olympics, still before her 27th birthday, Annemarie Moser-Pröll finally won Olympic gold. Having now won everything there is to win, she retired at the end of that season as the greatest ski racer of her time. Looking at Annemarie Moser-Pröll's stats can give you vertigo. Over 12 seasons, she won 6 overall titles, 8 downhill and 3 giant slalom World Cups. She reached 114 podiums and won 62 races, more than a third of all her starts. She also earned 9 World Championship medals, including Olympic gold at her last Winter Games. Needless to say that Annemarie Moser-Pröll became the greatest female Austrian athlete. By the end of the millennium, she was voted Athlete of the Century in her country. But not only in Austria with Toni Seiler and Pröll, skiers got this kind of recognition. As already mentioned, Jean-Claude Killy is also regarded as the greatest athlete of France, and in Canada, no other woman even comes close to Nancy Greene's reputation as the greatest woman in the country's sporting history. All of these successes were amplified by the arrival of television, which was a major game changer. As live broadcasts entered homes around the world, skiing gained mass appeal. That helped those champions to lead Alpine ski racing into a golden era. But it was still only the beginning.